Welcome to Mattys Mental Health Podcast, aiming to spread awareness on mental health by sharing the real life stories of those who've experienced it firsthand. Okay. All right. How you doing, man?
Good, good.
Good to see you, Macisaac.
Thank you.
How does it feel to be the tallest guy in Charlottetown?
I don't mean every day's a challenge, but I get through it,
Yeah. It's good to see you, man. Thanks
you.
for coming here and doing this.
No worries. Thank you very much.
We are friends. We've known each other for a while. And
I was just thinking, we've done some stuff in this house.
yeah, let's let's keep that a secret.
Okay.
No, we've had fun. We've had a lot of fun together in general. We've had some good times.
Yeah.
So thanks so much for coming on. And yeah, so I know a little bit about your story, like some of the things you've been through.
Yeah.
Do you want to get into it a little bit?
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say that I've. I don't know. I don't know if I have. I guess I've been through stuff. I've never been through anything that's like. I think I maybe thought I had. If you talked to me like a year ago, maybe I would have thought that I had actually been through stuff. But I think after having. It's weird. After having gone through stuff, like the last year was a little like weird. More than a year now. I guess it's May. But like, for example, I went to Thailand with like Murph and those guys.
Yep.
And I was having like really bad anxiety all the way leading up to that trip for whatever reason. I think quite honestly, and I love those guys like Carter and Murph. I love those guys, but I think honestly I just wanted to go by myself the entire time. And
Yeah.
I knew they wanted to come, and I wanted to be like a good buddy and just do it.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like truly in my heart what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I think that drummed up. I don't know what the proper past tense of that is.
Built up, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, it built up a lot of anxiety in me. But then when I got there, it like all came out because I was like, oh fuck, can we swear on this?
Yeah. Go right ahead.
I'm like shit. Like I'm halfway around the world on a trip I don't necessarily want to be on.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it has nothing to do with those guys. Like they're great guys.
Yeah. Of course.
But it was just my own shit that like had built up.
Yeah.
And then proceeded to spend like another month on the road traveling. Like we were in Thailand and Laos, and just the whole time like building up like a level of anxiety that I had never experienced before, and to where like by the end of my time there, I gave myself like a concussion, and that like really peaked everything. I bumped my head getting out of bed one day, and the next day I was like literally bedridden from the concussion. But then after that, I was so paranoid about getting sick, and also just start the story, I guess. I got sick immediately after landing, pretty much. Like not like right after landing, but the day after I got sick. And then also I found out I had some sort of I found out that I had some inner ear condition that like changes whenever it's a pressure thing that like messes up your equilibrium anytime you fly. But I never knew prior to that trip that I had that.
Right.
So I was also like, I was super sick from food poisoning, and then also I was getting these crazy dizzy spells for no reason. And I'd be like walking around somewhere, and then there's like the whole like world would start turning. So I was like, that on top of already being really anxious, like just threw me into like a world of just like thinking everything. Like, there was like bad around every corner, and just getting like super paranoid.
Yeah.
And like paranoid and anxious, mostly anxious. Not paranoid like they're coming to get me or anything, like, but just thinking that honestly thinking that I was like gonna get sick again after that like initial first few days. And that anxiety paired with the stuff I was feeling before I left kind of just all amalgamated into just having this like trip that, quite honestly, I mean, I left probably about 5 days after getting that little like concussion or bump on my head or whatever it was. I made the decision, and I guess like looking back on it, like concussive decision making probably isn't the best idea, but I pretty much within 24 hours decided that I was gonna get out. We were in Lao at that point, and I was like, I gotta go. Called my parents up, and they were good enough to figure out the ticket information. Like I paid for it, but they did all the booking. And then I probably was out of there in about 4 days, and I flew through Ethiopia. I was in Ethiopia for 17 hours. That was cool.
Yeah,
that was actually kind of cool. Like no lie. Even though like I was sort of like just a ball of stress.
yeah,
But then I got back, and I was like back to P.E.I, and I was sort of I was complacent, like I wasn't working or anything, and I felt like I felt like a failure because I, in my mind, gave up on this like big adventure. Because in addition to also being anxious prior to the trip, I was also in an attempt to combat the anxiety and any negative thinking I may have had about it. I was also pumping myself up about it too. So I was like, yo, don't feel anxious about this. This is going to be an amazing trip. So when it didn't work out because of the anxiety, it leveled on top. After me getting back, I was like, you failed at this big like trip. You spent thousands of dollars also. Mm-hmm. So there's just that. And now you're in P.E.I like working and not working actually at that point. So that, and then, that went on for about like a month or two. So I got back in February. Let's do some like cataloging here. Got back in February, and then March, April, started working again at my job in May. But yeah, for a few months there, it was like really, I had like good times, but it was just like super dark, and not like ever like seriously dark in terms of like I would do something bad to myself, but like just, I don't know. Hey, maybe I shouldn't even say that, because like there was definitely a point where like I was just so down about myself that I was like, what am I even like doing? Mm-hmm. Why am I?
Just felt kind of lost in your life.
Yeah, I was like, this is. Yeah, no, I just felt like it was not. I felt like I was never gonna like in a weird way recover from it, and I know it sounds like so silly because nothing that I was experiencing was necessarily like, there's never one straw that broke the camel's back, so to speak, or like one large incident that caused all this stress. It was just accumulation. Mm-hmm, right. And I think it also goes to show that depression and anxiety it just goes to prove that they are chemical things, in my opinion at least. I think you can be anxious and work out a little bit and not feel it, but I think the stuff that I was feeling, and I should include like I started taking an SSRI after that, and which quite honestly, I don't think that the first answer should be that. Like personally, I did like a talk therapy session for about like a month or so, 2 months, and I just felt like it wasn't working for me, and I should probably not have just given up on it necessarily, and I should have probably found somebody else. Maybe that person just wasn't for me. And I'm not downplaying like talk therapy, but I just felt like, for example, my dad was he's a registered therapist, and like he doesn't practice or anything, but he worked with the Federal Correction Services, so he used training in therapy quite a bit in his job. Mm-hmm. And he does have like, he's got a degree in something related vaguely to the field. So I growing up with that, I just sort of felt like these are just conversations that I'm paying $250 for that I could have with my dad. Mm-hmm. So for me, it never really panned out. But I will say that becoming properly medicated after that really like turned a whole leaf for me, at least, and just it took the blinders off in a way that prior to getting like becoming, just starting the medication, I was really there's this big glaze of like, it's not working out and nothing's going to work out. And like the world is shit wall to wall. And that just like removed that like haze from my vision. And I started seeing the world in like a bit of a new light to like, it's okay to be happy for no reason.
Yeah.
Like you don't necessarily, I don't know. It's okay to be happy for the sake of being happy, and it's okay to enjoy your life even though maybe you're not achieving your dreams right now. I think it's great to have dreams. I think you should go for that.
Yeah.
But I think it's also quite important to realize the moment and be happy with that too.
Yeah, I think the way it's explained to me, is like with SSRIs or like, depression medication, that will at least get you to like baseline. So kind of like what you're talking about, just at a place where therapy might work. So, it can be very, very helpful for people in depression. But it sounds like that those all those events leading up to that was just unpleasant for you.
Yeah, like it was unpleasant.
And like, I think it's interesting. Like we can kind of do things like you said, like your heart wasn't in the trip. Like, you didn't really want to go or do that particular trip or whatever. I think it's interesting how like sometimes we can do things for other people, even though in our heart we know that we want to do something else. Or
for sure. Yeah, I think that I think you see that every day. I think there's people that stay in jobs that they don't want to stay in because they feel bad for their employers not having them. Maybe you're good at your job but your job is like sort of toxic and you want to leave, but you know that if you left, that you would the place of the business would like be harmed or it would go down or whatever it might be. So you stay for somebody for their own well-being when in reality, being there for you isn't good, and you're putting other people's needs above your own, which I think you shouldn't do. And that by no means am I saying like be selfish, and be like a dick. I'm just saying like, I think I like make fun of those self-love or self-care Instagram like drawings. Like I don't know, there's like these like weird like artsy watercolor like things, and there's like it's like Pinterest shit, Pinteresty shit. It's like 10 ways to self-love, and then it's just this list, and there's like flowers drawn around it, but it's like real basic shit like fucking feed yourself and like shower daily and like which, hey, if that's helping somebody, go for it. And I think I like shit on that a bit, but I don't know, you should probably like those are also good things to do. So I'm a bit of a hypocrite in that way, but I think you should, especially like with toxic stuff, like if something's bad for you, like get out of there. Fuck everyone else, just do it, just leave.
No, you definitely got to do what's right for you. And take care of yourself.
Right? Yeah. No, but I think like I was saying, I don't know. I think it might be a little controversial to say this, but it's not controversial, but like, it's not really the right word. I think for people who might think they are depressed or anxious, because I think this is somewhat what I felt too. I felt like I had to have a reason to be depressed or anxious, but like I've had a great life. So I also, and I think it goes back to what I was saying like at the very beginning of the podcast about how like I used to feel like what I have gone through or like it's my journey or something, and I think I was trying to like romanticize it a bit and like build it up to some sort of tangible experience to don't know. It makes it a little bit sexier. But I think something people need to know is like it's okay to be depressed and anxious without just for if that's just how you feel, like it's not okay, but like that's how you feel, and it's okay to accept those feelings and deal with them as opposed to be like, I have an amazing life. Why would I feel depressed? Right? You can just feel that way. Like that has nothing to do with
anything in your life.
Yeah, you don't have
what's going on, the things you have, the people you've been blessed with, anything. It's just a place that you can get. I think we all get there at some point, or we've all been there, or it's obviously there's a spectrum of severity.
Yeah. I think in my own experience, the lack of having or how good my life, like I've had a great life, like I won't lie, like I started this trip off, or this story off, by being like, I'm depressed. Yeah, I was in Thailand hanging out on beaches and shit. Like I've had a great life, and I think because I've had a great life, in a weird way, it drummed up more anxiety and like almost just like self-hatred in a way, because I was like, I've had such a great life, yet I feel this way and I believe that I'm a piece of shit.
So it's like guilt almost.
It's a guilt. It's like you're weird. I almost feel like these feelings should be reserved for somebody who's actually gone through something tangible or some sort of abuse. And I'm feeling this way. Oh yeah, you're sucking up all the like resources for yourself. Like it's like a self-hating sort of like cycle. But no, like it is, and it goes back to my point. And I think I'm probably in a weird way talking in circles, but like it's okay to just feel some type of way in a negative sense.
Yeah. Because
you have an imbalance, or because you aren't, whatever it might be, it's like sounds cliche, but like it's the same as you don't plan on getting sick. Like you having a cold is in no way a relation to how good your life is being. I mean, technically, I'm sure, like, yeah, if you're homeless and you're living in the streets and getting sick, that's a whole other fucking thing.
Yeah.
Like it can kind of just like come at you out of nowhere, just the same way the flu can or food poisoning can, but it has nothing to do. There also doesn't have to be a reason for it. It can just show up, and it's okay. For that, you just got to deal with it.
Yeah, and take like tangible steps to deal with it.
Yeah. Like, and I think that's another thing. Like, as you mentioned, like there's degrees of severity in mental illness. So that puts limiting factors on people's ability to act tangibly in trying to get better. But at the same time, I think like if you can't leave the bed, if you're so depressed you can't leave the bed or something.
Okay,
it's gonna be harder for you to get help.
Yeah, so if you're like way severe,
if you're at the nth degree of depression or whatever you might be dealing with, it's gonna be harder for you to get help. I understand that. But if you are where I was, for example, and you're still not getting help, you have to get to a point where you're like, there is a self accountability involved with it all. Like, if you need to be able to identify, like, because if I never went, and I'm not, this isn't like I'm a great guy shit, like, but if I hadn't gotten to a point, or if I hadn't at one point just been like, no, I'm going to start progressing and like acting on things in terms of like, I'm going to start seeing a therapist, or I'm going to book that doctor's appointment to talk to her about the different options for SSRIs. I could have gotten to a point where of what I was dealing with where I wouldn't have done that. And then at that point, who knows, maybe it's I think the possibility of a slippery slope at that level or at that stage, it escalates. Yeah,
the trajectory is in the wrong direction, right?
Yeah, for sure. And there's there'd definitely be a bell curve between chances of you sliding down a slippery slope and the level and the time in which you let those negative feelings fester.
Yeah, I think that exactly. I think that first step is like crucial, and I think that's part of like the stigma with mental health, and it's like kind of the reason why I wanted to make this podcast was to like for people to share their stories so that, you know, like someone like you that was going through something similar or anything, anybody going through anything, would take that first step. Because if you don't take that first step, then the trajectory is in the wrong direction. You know, you have to take that first step.
You gotta
at some point.
You gotta work for it too. Like
100%.
You gotta work out, and you gotta like. And I said that physically, like literally, like you should be working out. Like if you're depressed, you should. I mean, if you couldn't physically, that's one thing, yeah. But you should like try. You can't sit on. If you sit on the couch all day or do whatever all day, not being stagnant, you're not gonna get better. You're not. You're not gonna feel less depressed by wallowing. You know, like you got to get out there and burn off some calories and like get those endorphins going and like really making yourself work physically. Because I guarantee, like you do like an hour-long fucking yoga class and like hop out of that thing, you're gonna. I mean, hey, like, or like you kick your ass in the elliptical or something. Like you do that like for like a 15-minute like hardcore workout or like kettlebells. I sound like fucking Joe Rogan right now. But like you're not gonna feel as shitty as you did when you started.
No, 100% not.
You're gonna feel way better.
Yeah.
And I know because I've done it. I've been pissed off or I've been depressed as hell and like just been like fuck it. I'm going to the gym and like I'm gonna put some work in and like kind of fucking get after it a bit and like you feel better afterwards. If nothing, I'm not saying like you're gonna work out and you're gonna be like, oh, I feel amazing. I want to like, I just swung some kettlebells. Now I know I fucking hate my parents. Like, no, it's not going to happen. But like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But, at least you're going to wake up or you're going to leave the gym or leave, you know, get back from the run or whatever. And you're going to say like to yourself, at least I did that. At least I like got after it just that little bit. Because some people didn't, and you know, I did, and like I won that little mini battle, and I think if you can keep winning those little mini battles,
you start to feel better.
You get cocky in a good way, you know. You're like, yo, I'm at least I do. I'm probably not the healthiest thought process, but I'm like, yo, I'm getting after it. I'm fucking going for it. You know,
it's confidence, and that's built up by your actions, right?
Yeah. You can't. Yeah, you're not gonna feel better about yourself by like playing video games and shit. Yeah. And, hey, I like video games. Like, I'm not talking shit, but you're not gonna. If in terms of like depression and anxiety and stuff, you're not gonna feel better by like, or even smoking weed. I love smoke like that. You know, it's cool.
Yeah.
Don't like, but that's not going to help you either. Like, I think and that's like another thing in like today's culture, is like people are just like getting baked and like not maybe thinking about how that's affecting them.
Yeah.
100%. You know? Yeah. And again, like I say that as a large endorser of marijuana, but I don't think that the best thing to do is to smoke weed all the time if you're stressed.
Well, I think the main thing is that you have to take care of yourself and take care of your mental health, and you have to be accomplishing the things you want to accomplish in your life, and like that's just healthy, right? And if you're smoking weed every day and just pushing that stuff off, or maybe, you know, it can be a crutch, and I know lots of people that it's a crutch, and myself at points where you smoke weed all the time, and it's like the same thing. It's substance, right? Like it can be abused. You're just using it to push things down in a way. So it can definitely be unhealthy if not used in the right way.
Yeah, and like you got to know how to use it too, right? Like you got to. I'll like, for example, today it's my day off. Smoke a little bit. Why not? At the same time, I cleaned the shit out of my apartment and got groceries. So like, I had my cake. Like, I got stoned and listened to podcasts all day. But I was also like, I just moved in a new place and like I scrubbed every windowsill and like, it's an older apartment, so there's like a little bit of like, you know, mold and stuff places. I just got, you know, like I went in on it cleaning. and and I went to grocery shopping. I'm gonna make killer fucking stuffed peppers tonight. So you can smoke weed, but you don't smoke weed and do nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you're depressed, because
Well,
that's just gonna make you think about wild shit.
Yeah, it's like anything, right? You can't revolve your life around
No.
anything, and then especially a substance.
Yes, man. And way too many people, I think, that is their like thing.
Yeah.
Is weed, and like it's, I don't know, man. I think like the funny thing is like the people who, I don't know, you find something deeper than weed, man. Like,
yeah,
if anything else, like it's just whatever. I don't know. There's other shit out there.
Well, it's just it by itself isn't accomplishing anything, right?
No.
So it's like you got to accomplish things, and then that's just another part of your life. It's like it's like drinking coffee or drinking alcohol. It's yeah. But yeah, I like what you said about exercise, and how it's not a one-time fix-all kind of thing. No. I think that diet and exercise can be very, very helpful, but it's like a maintenance kind of thing. Like would you agree with that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. You can't you can't do it like once in a while.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's kind of like if you wouldn't just like, you don't clean your house once in a while. I'm talking about cleaning a lot. Maybe it's on my brain, but you can't like sweep your floors once in a while. Like if you sweep your floors like once a week, they're going to be dirty. You got to do that like as much as possible. Mm-hmm. Every day maybe if you can. Like, and you got to eat right too. Like you mentioned, you can't, if you're eating crappy food, you're going to feel crappy. Mm-hmm. And like, I'm not even saying like you got to eat some crazy superfoods, but instead of eating
pizza,
eat like rice and some canned veggies. Like people always are like, it's so much money to eat healthy. Like it's not super cheap, and like I guess there's cheaper options, but at the same time, like rice and canned lentils is like pretty cheap, and it's like pretty decent food for you that'll keep you full, and like you'll actually be fueled, and you'll be able to like and then it goes hand in hand like with the working out. Like if you're not eating right, like obviously you know better than I do, you did it with school, like if you're not eating right, you're not gonna perform right in the gym, and you're not gonna like get bigger or anything.
Well, and you're just not gonna, I think they build on each other, because you're definitely not gonna want to eat a pizza and then go run 10K. You're just gonna like feel like you're gonna be feeling horrible the whole time, feeling like you're gonna puke.
Yeah, man.
So they go hand in hand.
And bad food is in the same vein as like alcohol too, because like I love beers. Like I like trying like different, all the craft beers and whatnot.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't drink a beer and then I'm like, I'm gonna go be super productive and like live a healthy life. I'm gonna drink a beer and sit on the couch. Like and mentally too, that's one thing I remembered to like bring it back to mental health a little bit. I remember if you're drinking is like maybe the worst thing you could do when you're for me at least, when you're anxious and depressed, because that just for me
amplifies it.
Yeah, big time. I remember like whenever I would drink, and like not like a sketchy way, but like I'd go out with like buddies or whatever, have a couple beers, get like a decent buzz on, wake up the next morning, and it was like big time anxiety. It was like a big time, not like a trigger, but just chemically, like you feel it's a depressant. Like it's not bringing you up. Booze is like bringing you down for sure. Maybe the moment you're having fun, but like afterwards you're gonna like
you feel like shit for a day at least.
Oh, you feel, physically, but for me, man, there's the mental hangovers. Like we're really bad, like big time, like booze. Yeah. People always say like the Sunday scaries is like a light thing, but like I don't know, man. At the same time, that's like your body in like, am I dying? Like you're like physically you feel like shit, but also mentally you're like, why am I questioning my own mortality? At like 10 a.m.
It takes you to your mind to some weird places.
And like for everybody, I think it does, but especially if you're dealing with some shit.
Yeah,
If you're
100%.
dealing with some shit, don't drink.
It'll bring that shit out.
Big time.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't do that.
So, you said you went on the trip, you left early, and you came home, and there was a couple months where you weren't working and you weren't doing too well. You went to therapy,
Yeah,
and then you got an SSRIs, and that finally started to help.
yeah, that clear like, that yeah, that's it's. And I mean, I think once I started taking the medication, like I mentioned earlier, it took the blinders off, and it came along in a very good point in my life too, where I started working again. So actually, kind of like in somewhat of a poetic fashion, I remember the first day that I started the medication was my first day at work, which was like weird because I don't know if for anybody who's like taken them. I've spoken to a few people who've had this like similar sort of reaction where like you almost feel like you're on ecstasy or something. Like if you take it like once, your first time, like that drops off after like a day. But like I was feeling like really like cloud nine, like shit.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway,
Feeling weird, a little weird.
Little like space cadetty, but that happens. It balances
Yeah.
out eventually. But yeah, no, my first day back at work was my first day on the medication, and then I was with work. I was becoming active, and I was not just sitting around the house all day. Like I was solving problems, feeling better about myself at work. I took on a bit of a management position actually, and that really also gave me something to work for and to like get after. Because I think like
Responsibility.
yeah, and I think we as people are like, I know now there's a bunch of jobs that are like, you sit at a desk all day and like that's what you do. But those have only been around for like what, 70 years maybe, since like after World War II or maybe a bit before. But before that, like for thousands of years, you get up and you like work all day. You work. You like get after it, and you're running through fields or doing whatever you're doing.
No, it's 100% not natural for humans to sit down all day, and it's not healthy for it at all.
Hell no. Physically and mentally, like it's just not what like, and that's something.
It's sad that a lot of people have to do it every day.
Yeah, and
end up getting stuck in it, like we were talking about before.
Yeah, I couldn't do it. I'm still in the same like management position now, but I've sort of worked my job to be a little bit more hands-on, just in terms of like what I'm doing, what I'm working on. I'm taking on like some more day-to-day tasks, and that I found also has helped my because like it's not like I just started taking the medication like all those the medication rather made me realize that it was okay to be okay, and it's
yeah,
it really just like brings you up. And remember like a month or 2 months into it, like when you're just when the medication has started to work and like balance itself out, and you're starting to more serotonin is reuptaking in your brain, I guess, if you will, SSRI, and everything's going, and like I would just find myself like sitting or doing whatever, and I was just like be like happy. And like that was the first time that I had experienced, like, not the first time, but like like maybe one of the first times in months and months, like, that I had been just happy living, like just doing nothing really.
Yeah.
And just that's okay. It's okay to be just like glad to like be around. That guy, like, I'm just happy to be here. Like, it's okay. That's an all right feeling. Like, that's an acceptable. You don't always have to have some like massive, like larger purpose. Like, and you should, like, again, you should go for goals. You should have dreams and stuff, but it's also okay to like, I'm just living. and it's okay to do that.
Yeah.
I'm having fun doing it. So if I'm having fun living like the way I'm living, what's wrong with that? And why would I necessarily stop unless I'm hurting myself or I'm like drinking too much or partying too much? Because you can have fun partying and stuff, but yeah, it's cool to live your life, have fun. If you're having fun and being healthy, why change that too much? Don't. It's like school. Like, why would you just get if you're having fun living your life? Like, why are you gonna also go to school? Like, if you don't want to do it,
100%.
like keep doing your thing. Like, I've often thought how awesome it would be to. I think we all know like one of those guys who just has like a regular job and he's just pumped about it. And like you're just like, I wish I could be cool with that, you know. And I think that's a certain type of person.
Yeah.
But there's nothing wrong with that.
No, I think you just need to find your thing, like what you want to accomplish and what you want to, your version of that. It might not be a simple job, or it could be, whatever endeavor you really want to accomplish. I think you just need to find that. But yeah, I like what you say about like school. I kind of feel bad for like, kids that just get out of high school because they think they have to go to school to be happy or like for the next step. And I mean, there's nothing wrong. Like, I think people should aspire for like lifelong learning and like always, and growth, but, doesn't necessarily have to be through traditional education.
Oh no. My opinion. Like I've had a rather like a different path since high school, traveling and like having different jobs, and I wouldn't change it. I think I'm probably like life-wise a lot wiser than other people who are my age who like went directly into university. And I think there's a lot of experiences. Like my buddy, for example, probably like my best friend's living in Montreal, and he just like is a barista at like a super like cool hip cafe in Montreal and just loves living life doing that. And like he definitely has dreams and aspirations of like doing bigger things. However, he's also said to me, he's like, yo, I'm loving just doing this right now. Like there's nothing wrong with that. And like, why would I change my life right now if I'm like tomorrow's not guaranteed? I know that's cliche, but why are you changing? Like, you're living life, you're happy, you're having a good time. Why change that?
And I think the same thing goes for school too. If someone really enjoys going to school and they love going to school or they want to pursue a degree or whatever it is, like 100% do it. But
absolutely.
So how long does it take before you really start feeling better? And how do you feel now?
I think like it probably took like a month to 3 weeks to 3 to 6 weeks, I'd say.
For the medication.
For the medication to start working, and then like maybe another month, because like at that point too, I will also say like I don't think it's a fix all, and I definitely think for a brief moment like they can sort of once they've started working, it takes a little while longer to also like have them drop off a bit, because there's a little while for me at least where I was taking them and they were working like a month in, and I was like, these are just like happy pills. It was great, and I was loving everything. But at the same time, in order to like have a happy long life, like you can't always be on cloud nine. I think like
sustainable.
It's not sustainable. Like I think you gotta. It's important for building character. I think like you gotta go through some stuff and like have some hardship and be bummed out to like appreciate when awesome stuff happens. So I think for a while, like so it probably took like 3 to 5 weeks for the medication to kick in to bring me to the point where what I just mentioned, where like I had rose-colored glasses on. But then like maybe 2 months after that, or a month after that, probably a month after that, I got a bit more zeroed in. There was a slight drop off in the effects of the medication, which was good. Like it brought about, it was a bit of like an awakening moment in a weird way. Like I was like, I kind of was like, okay, I'm glad because the anxiety's gone, but at the same time, you gotta like work. It's not over, and you gotta like don't just rely on the medication to like fix all your problems. Because and you know, we all have like self growth and self analysis that has to happen, and I think one other thing that the medication has been able to do for me is look at or do perform some form of like self-analysis of like what is it that I do actually value and what is it that I do want to do, whereas before I was just so like bummed and like not having it all the time that I just wasn't willing to let myself get to that point of openness with myself.
Such a cloud that you couldn't even
you can't get through it, right? But and so I guess probably we're going back to the timeline. Like we get a month out from when the medication starts working, and like I start trying to like do some like rudimentary self-analysis and like figure out like what I want my life to look like, and you know, then I think after that, like sort of there's peaks and valleys to everything. Like I've definitely felt anxious since being on the medication still. Like it peaks through every like once in a while, but it never in day-to-day things. Like the last time I felt like real anxiety, I was like a little stoned, I will admit. Like I was just like a little stoned, and it just like hit me weird, and I was like what's this? And then it's just it's kind of like the Rogue Bowl situation. Like you know, like that one weird little like puff that maybe makes you think about things too much. But again, like that you know, just don't that's it's also like it's you're getting put in check a little bit. It's maybe that's like, I know it's like real hippie stuff, but like maybe that's the weed's way of telling you to not smoke as much. Like when you start feeling anxiety when you smoke, like that's in my opinion a sign that you should stop, or not stop, but slow down.
Yeah,
that's, I think that maybe this is like some I honestly think that there's like a plant intelligence, you know, and like I think that maybe it's the plant telling you something when you're feeling anxious from smoking weed, but you didn't before. That's a noticeable difference that you need to take into consideration.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. I think it'd also be like anxiety that you have in like building up inside of you for whatever reason, and it's coming out the more you smoke, because like you're pushing it down by getting high all the time, or
for sure that happens. Like, and I've been there for sure. Like I've done that, you know. But I don't know. But now, like I feel good. I'm like I think I have to remind myself sometimes that like it is like something you got to work on.
Yeah.
And like I've also found in a weird way, like writing it down, even just like putting it out there, like not, you don't even need to show anybody, but just writing down what it is you're feeling or what you're feeling anxious about, and like just like write it down, put it in a scribbler, and like leave it. You don't have to look at it.
Yeah.
But just that action of like, you're letting it leave your body.
Mm-hmm.
And that's especially good if it's either stuff you don't want to talk to somebody about, because that's okay too. Like it's okay to not talk about the things you're feeling sometimes. I don't advocate for that, but it's also like, you know, sometimes like you don't owe your story to anybody, you know? You don't owe, like, sometimes the best way to get it out is just writing it down.
100%.
And just, like, you don't need to tell another person. Like, if it's something you're not comfortable with sharing yet, I think you should always try. Like, if something bad has happened to you, I think you should always try and tell another person, because I think that's at the end of the day going to be the best way to deal with it, maybe, by letting it leave you that way. But a great start would just be writing it down.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think that's where therapy can come in too.
Yeah, big time. big time. And I think
Because you might not want to tell someone that's close to you, but they're like therapists are literally they're just there to help you.
Yeah.
So
the idea of an impartial third party is, I think, key to therapy. And
Yeah.
I don't think I'm saying much there. I think that's a standard opinion. But there's absolutely stuff that I told my therapist when I was going to therapy that I wouldn't have told my dad.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And not bad stuff, but like maybe stuff your parents don't want to hear. Like,
yeah, of course. Yeah. And I think they're just there to help you. I mean, like even your parents or even your friends, you wouldn't want to say like anything at all that you feel you can say, and they're just there to help you work through it.
Yeah, it's literally their job to do that for you. And I'm definitely not one of these people who like berates like Tim Hortons employees like it's your job to do this. But in their case, it is their job to help you feel better.
Yeah.
They're there to they've probably always heard weirder shit.
100%.
Like it's kind of like that law, that like dumb internet law jokey thing where it's like the most like wild porn you could ever imagine, there's something weirder, you know? So like so like the weird thing that happened that you're really anxious about talking to another person about, maybe because like you come off as the weirdo, especially if you come off as the bad guy, because that's good. That's stuff that you need to talk to. I mean, hell, if you did some illegal shit, that's a whole other conversation. But like, if there's a weird thing you did that you don't want to tell anybody, like, you know, therapists, they've definitely hearing weirder. Mm-hmm. They've definitely like, you know, 100%. Don't worry about that.
So what do you do on a daily basis for maintenance of your mental health?
I think, I try to work out daily. Lately I've been going through this moving crap, so it's like been a bit harder. But I try to work out at minimum 3 times a week. And I mean, I can pretty much always like hit that goal. But perfect day, like maintenance wise, would be waking up early, like 7:30 or 8 in the morning, if not maybe a bit earlier. Hanging out, eating like a decent, full, like protein-rich breakfast with like a lot of eggs and stuff, avocado. Maybe drinking some coffee, hanging out for a little bit, and then like I guess I'm giving you like a day off. Yeah, like going to the gym, putting some work in, sweating a little bit, and then, you know, getting something. Maybe it's as small as like assembling a shoe rack, but like getting something done. Productive. Even on your days off, you should probably get something done, I think. Because I think productivity is also very key to dealing with your anxiety, because it's giving you a big thing for me, at least, and I think with a lot of other people, is you're not feeling like you're good at anything, or you're not feeling like you can accomplish stuff. But by being productive, you are creating something tangible that you can see and you can look at, and in some cases feel and touch, where you're like, I did that, it's done, I did a good job. And then that will, again, for me, reduce some of that anxiety and make me value myself a little bit more. But I think, and then I guess a different day, if I had to work, for example, same thing, get up early, work out a little bit, eat a really good breakfast. I think eating, like you mentioned, is a big thing. Like even just being hungry and not like keep your body fed. Like that's a big deal with like thing with mental health. Like if you're not eating right, like I guess we already talked about it, but like I'm just sort of making me think again about it. Like that's a big deal. You gotta stay fed, like, and like
healthy food too.
That's another. It
really affects your mind
more than you might think, for sure. Like you even just do like a little experiment and eat like burgers and fries, and like obviously you'll feel bloated yourself, but I bet you'll also feel like mentally not as well as you would have if you ate like a great salad or something. But,
Yeah.
but I do think it takes daily maintenance for sure. And like, I think I don't do it daily, but if I ever am like feeling anxious about something, like I'll try and write it down or talk it out with somebody, or even like doing stuff like making a T chart of like weighing your pros and cons about a certain thing you're feeling stressed about.
Mm-hmm.
And also, what that's good for is determining whether or not, because I know I do this a lot. There's a lot of stuff that I worry about or I stress about that aren't worth worrying because they don't actually matter that much, or they're not worth worrying over because there's nothing I can do about it.
Yeah.
And I think that is like writing it down is another very good way of being able to. So stress is good too. Like it's good to feel anxiety sometimes about things because that's your mind's way of being like, hey, finish that, get after it.
It means that you care.
It means
right?
it means that you care. But no, yeah, like if you write something down, like you're able to not analyze whether or not that's worth worrying about.
Yeah, it kind of makes it more real, right? When you write it down, like when thoughts are just in your head, writing it down makes it more real, and you can kind of like look at it from the perspective of outside you or outside your head, I guess, and it makes it more.
You can touch it,
real, and able to evaluate it in a much clearer way.
For sure.
Yeah. Well, I love everything you said, man. I think it's a lot of good advice.
Yeah, and I guess like in closing, I think I said like, or tried to as much as possible like preface things by saying like for me or in my experience, because I think that no two people's journey with like anxiety or depression is the same, and I try to be very wary of like not when I'm telling people about like stuff that like I've been through. I've tried not to like
force your ways on
like I think it's really ignorant of people to like be like, yeah, well, when I was depressed this helped. That it's even like hell, maybe I doubt it, but maybe even working out's not good for you. So I kind of doubt that one. I'm pretty confident in saying like working out will help your mental health, but maybe for some people it won't.
Yeah.
So like,
well, it all depends on severity, I think, like we talked about. Like I think if it's like very, very severe, if it's a mood disorder, if you went through some crazy trauma at some point, like going for, if you run 6 hours a day, it's not going to change that, right?
No, that's always.
But I think those things are maintenance, and they can help. That's like an everyday thing. Just yeah. But
and I guess all I'll say is like my opinions are my own, and they don't necessarily reflect what I think other people should do. Mm-hmm. You know, like don't like. I don't have all the answers, and I don't. Not that people necessarily think I do. I definitely don't fucking think that. But like, don't. It's okay if you have like a different experience, or if you don't agree with me, or if you know you're you find better or different ways of coping with things. That's fine. Like as long as you're getting it done, you're getting it done. Doesn't matter what way you're doing it, as long as it's healthy and positive, right?
Yeah. Well, I think finding healthy ways to deal with it and getting help is always the main message, and
you gotta work
the way that you gotta work for it.
It's not easy. Like you gotta you gotta put work in.
I know we talked about this earlier, but I hit my head a couple of weeks ago, and I got like a mild concussion, and like I feel like a lot better now, and like I'm pretty thankful. But like I got like a bad concussion playing football a couple of years ago, and I just like the first like week I was in pretty rough shape, and like it's pretty easy to slip like into like I was kind of in a dark place, right? Like I was feeling like how long is this gonna like affect me, and like is this gonna be like, you know what I mean? Like, and I kind of like had to stop myself and just say like, is this productive, and what will make me better tomorrow, or what can I do today to make
Yeah.
me better tomorrow? And I think like from my past experiences, I've learned that like just focus on what you can do today to do tomorrow. I think Murph said that in the last Connor Murphy said that in the last podcast. I think that's really important. Just focus on what you can do today to be better than yesterday.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And like, yeah, I did that, and now I feel like 100 times better. So it's like you can really, and I think it adds to the point where we talked about like a slippery slope. Like in the past, you know, I didn't handle it well when I got one a few years ago and had to stop playing football. Like you could just go down a slippery slope easily, man. You could not take care of it, and you get another one. You could like, and then you don't even, you know what I mean? It could be like, I think the margin for, the margin for error, or the slope, can be very slippery. So you just have to be aware of that and take care of yourself. And
you can't let yourself get trapped. Like you can't.
Yeah.
If you, excuse me, the best thing you can do when you're feeling anxious is like identify you're feeling anxious too.
Yeah, yeah.
Because like
you kind of have to like look at it from outside of yourself.
Yeah.
Like what's going on here?
Why am I like, okay, here's a good example. Why am I angry at my parents, or why am I angry at my girlfriend, or why am I angry at my friends for no reason? Because I've been there before. The reason for that was I was depressed.
Yeah.
I was anxious or whatever.
Yeah.
You know. And that's even something that I'll do, that I feel like you know, I'm sure everybody gets in those moods where like somebody says what's up to you and you're like, fuck you, dude. You know, you're just like for some reason pissed.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think a large portion of those incidents, if you looked back on what you're feeling before that, wasn't that person that like was making you feel that way. It was something else. And it's the same
internal struggle.
There's something else going on, and it could be something small, or it could be like, again, it could be anxiety, like, or depression. That's the way I dealt with it. I would get pissed off at people.
Yeah.
And I was like getting angry at like people I loved and who were close to me for no reason, but it was because I was hurting so much.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think if you let it build up, it can turn into anger. It's one of the avenues you can come out, right?
Definitely. And that anger is like, I mean, it's not going to help you, obviously, because, I mean, anger is probably very rarely going to help you in general, but it's definitely not going to help you when something that you probably will need in your recovery is companionship and friends.
100%.
And that's so you just gotta be really careful, especially with that like angry negative shit. Like, don't put that on other people, because that'll like really bite you in the ass.
Yeah, you're pushing away the people that you need.
Big time, and you will do that. Like, again, everyone's different, but that's what I did a little bit, and luckily it didn't get to a point where I burnt bridges, but like I absolutely.
We're close or what?
Yeah, probably, man. Like with my parents, big time. Like I would just be like a dick, and like it wouldn't be fun to be around. And like I lived with them at the time, so it was like I kind of had to be around them. But like I remember I'd like be making coffee in the morning, and my dad would come down. He'd like ask if he could have a cup, and I'd just be like, motherfucker. Like I would just be pissed for no reason, and like I don't know. I'd be like a bit of a dick to him, just like, and it would push him away, and he'd be like, okay, well, fuck you. If you're going to be that way, then, like, get bent, man. Like, yeah, and you just push people out of your life because you're depressed and you're unhappy with yourself, and, yeah. I don't know. Don't do that.
Yeah. I think that's a great message. But thanks so much for doing this, man. I really appreciate it.
No worries. Anytime. That's good. I think, like, yeah, you got to do stuff like this to make people realize it's okay to talk about.
Yeah.
And it's also not like a certain type of person who feels that way too. Because like I think also, not to like bring it back up, but maybe popular culture would have it seem as if people who deal with depression or anxiety are like one type of person. Whether that be through what is perceived through movies or television or whatever. But like, it's okay for if you're like a pretty like or relatively like square person. Like, it's okay. Like, you can feel that way too. You don't have to. If you you got friends and stuff. It's all still like.
I think it's irrelevant to how you feel.
Yeah. The type of person you are is irrelevant to regardless of if you have those feelings. You know. Yeah. And talk about it. It's it's kind of like why I came on. Like maybe like there's not a lot of people like who I like. You and us like some people may consider to be broy. I think like that's also important to talk about. Like we're pretty like normal dude. Like we like doing dude stuff and like fairly typical guy stuff. But like at the same time, we both dealt with pretty serious like issues like that. Same with Murph. Like, and I think we've all talked about it. And it's not like we're outing each other. Like, it's okay to. It's okay. You can just because you're like party guy once in a while, like maybe a little like macho, like not me, you with your muscles, not me.
Come on,
Fuck
man.
no.
Come on, dude.
I don't know. I'm probably just rambling, but yeah, I think it's important for like everybody to talk about it because it affects everybody.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I just love everybody.
Yeah, you're a really good person, man. I'm joking.
Stop.
I'm joking.
I love you. Thanks so much for having me.